Hello friends, welcome to Squaird Plans, where creative planning and organization comes to life. I'm Stephanie, and today we're going to be doing a little DIY planner refresh for summer in my classic Happy Planner. I'll show you how I make a laminated acetate layered cover and a laminated pocket folder, as well as set up my frankenplanner with some additional seasonal items. So let's get to it. And I've got this acetate transparency film, along with some thermal laminating pouches and a Scotch laminator. I have this stack of cardstock with a summer theme, this We Are Memory Keepers power punch, and a rounded corner punch as well. And finally, a good ruler to use for measuring. Okay, you guys, so the first thing we're going to do is set up this acetate laminated cover. I went ahead and printed last year's design that I gave away as a freebie, which I'll also link again here down below. For my cover, I had two layered options, and last year I used vellum. This year I wanted to try it with the acetate and also kind of correct the background because my printer was having trouble with some of the toner last year. So I wanted the colors to be a little bit more true to the way that they were on the PDF. So I reprinted those, and now my process is to cut them down to size. I showed briefly the backer of the cardstock portion is actually from that paper pack. I cut it down to 8.5 by 11, and then I just went ahead and printed that printable right on the opposite side. It is a single-sided cardstock, so that works out perfectly. So I have cardstock pre-printed already for the inside cover. And then for the acetate, I just printed it the same way you would print a glossy print on your printer if it could handle it. I have a laser printer, so mine did a really good job with the acetate. I'm not sure how it will work with inkjet, but I'm sure that there are specific acetate styles for inkjet printers. I'll link the one that I have here in the description below, but also try to find one that's inkjet friendly for my inkjet peeps. Anyway, I printed them out, and now I've cut them down to size. I cut them together so that the sizing should be very close when I go to layer them. Sometimes, you kind of estimate when you're doing the cut down, and it's just good to cut them together since they are going to be layered on top of each other. I'm pulling out all of the laminated sheets that I'll need for this cover. I have 5mm laminating sheets, and those are a little bit thicker than the standard 3mm laminated sheets. Most planner covers, store-bought planner covers that are laminated are around 10mm, and many of the home laminators that you just kind of, get for hobby use are only going to handle up to maybe 5mm. So there is a hack. You can actually double up the lamination, which I think I did last year in the same video. If you want to see how to do that, I was thinking to do that again here, but instead what I ended up doing is laminating both the back cardstock sheet and the acetate cover, and together with the width of those, it makes a 10mm style cover because they're layered. I might still go back and re-laminate the acetate one. That one is a little bit wonky, so when you double laminate it, it makes it a lot more sturdy and stiff. So I do like it the way it is, but I have used it for a couple days now since I filmed this video, and it is still a little bit soft, if you will, for a cover, even layered up. So again, I might go back and re-laminate it. But like I said, I did this last year for a summer setup, so if you want to see how to do that, I will also have that linked down below in the description. So for this one, like I said, I'm just going to do a single lamination on all 4 of those cover sheets. I don't know if you just saw me kind of cleaning things off, but I noticed that there was a little bit of dust particles that got stuck in the back cover. So I tried to clean off the front cover the best that I could of any little marks or particles. You just got to be careful when you laminate to get it as clean as possible. I've had these covers sitting around on my desk for a couple days without it being laminated, so I'm sure it just picked up some dust and just was a little bit difficult to remove everything. Luckily, I started with the back cover and was able to kind of catch that for the front cover, which is the most important part. So now I'm cutting down the laminating sheets, and basically I'm just trying to get it fairly close to the line of lamination. When you laminate a sheet, there's usually like a little bit of an air gap between your page and where the glue is actually stuck again and laminated down. So you want to make sure you're not getting into that air gap at all when you're cutting. You want to give yourself at least like 1/8 of an inch or 2 millimeters maybe, just enough so that it's not like a huge gap overlap, but that you're not worried that the glue is going to come apart and the whole air gap's going to open up. And sorry about the focus thing. I had some issues with not setting my focus properly in the start, but I fixed that here shortly. So just FYI, it does get better. Okay, so I've cut all of those covers down, and the next step is going to be rounding the corners. So my corner rounder, I use this all the time on laminated projects, and it's just not that sharp anymore. So I'll use it to kind of pre-punch the corner, and then I'll go back and kind of trim off the little hangers on that didn't quite punch all the way through with my scissors. But hopefully, if you have a pretty good punch, that won't be necessary, because it worked fine in the beginning, but I think it's just gotten dull over time. I've tried a couple of different ways to try to sharpen these craft punches, including my hole punch, which you're going to see me use here in a second. Nothing has worked 100%. I have tried foil. Foil was just a waste of time. I've tried sandpaper, and sandpaper worked actually pretty good, just keeping it a very lightweight sandpaper. I mean, fine grit sandpaper. I said lightweight, but I meant fine grit sandpaper. So it's just enough to kind of rub on the metal and not damage your punch. But maybe I need to do more. Anyway, I've tried those methods. Those are the best ones that I've tried, the sandpaper with the fine grit, like 220 grit or even higher. Everything else has just been kind of a waste of time, to be honest, on the punches that I have. So if there is a better solution than the two that I just mentioned, and you know a super awesome hack for that, please leave that in the comments below. I've been searching for years for a good way to sharpen punches and just really haven't found anything that's like bulletproof. So really quick, I am marking the center point on all of these covers. I have a ruler that's already preset with the right marker on these covers. I've added a 1/2 inch to the standard classic happy planner size. So they're 7.5 by 9 3/4. And then I find the halfway point, which I think is 4.375, maybe. Yeah, that seems about right. For the middle point of the 9-inch side. That's where you would want to put your first starting hole to make sure that the punches are evenly spaced when you're using this single punch that I'm using here. However, it is an awesome punch, I will say. So the We Are Memory Keepers disc power punch is perfect for disc DIY projects. It punches through really thick materials great. Does not punch that well through thin and flimsy materials. It just does better when you've stacked up some pages or you've got some heavier materials that you're trying to do something custom with, like these. Again, my punch is a little bit out of sharpness, so I'm just going through with my scissors and cleaning off those hanger-ons. For the most part, that's the process, and then you'll just go through once you get that starting hole, and then there's a guide on that power punch to guide you for the rest of the spacing on the holes, and that goes really fast. So I've already punched the front and the back covers, both the acetate and the cardstock portions. going to go ahead and finish cleaning up these holes. I really liked how the color came through a lot better on these prints. Last year it was very just either blue and pink, and none of the green or the yellow tones were coming out because I think, like I said, there was low toner. So I'm really happy that I reprinted this cover and like the way it turned out. Next, what I'm going to do is try this out on my frankenplanner. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that at the end, but I think I want to just try it and make sure it looks good. We'll go ahead and do the same on the back. And yeah, that looks exactly how I had hoped. Now we'll move on to the next project, which is a pocket folder. So I went ahead and pulled out some more cardstock from this paper pack. I got this last year at Michael's, so I'm not sure you're going to be able to find the same pack, but you'll probably be able to find something similar there if you have a Michael's nearby, or you can order something online if you want a summer pack. So I'm just going to do a little bit of glue here in the bottom corner so that I can double up these two single-sided sheets so it's the same front and back. And the reason I'm doing that is so when I cut it down that it doesn't shift. That usually becomes an issue, and then you have to make sure that front to back there's no excess hanging off. So the way that I like to do it is I just glue them together and then I will trim from there. And I'm using a guillotine cutter. That is my favorite for cutting stacks of paper. It's a little less precise, I would say, than the ones where they have the little blade that runs along a track. But if you're doing multiple inserts or stacks of paper, if you're trying to cut down on time, the guillotine cutter is awesome. So I went ahead and cut that down to standard classic Happy Planner size, which is 7 by 9.25. And I have that ready to go. And now I'm going to cut the actual pocket portion, which I'm going to layer on top. And I was kind of lazy, so I did the first pocket and I just kind of found an angle that I thought would work nicely for the front. I cut it first down to a 7-inch width, and then I went ahead and made the pockets, but I should have flipped the cardstock. So I ended up making 2 pockets, but they're exactly the same. And so I was like, oh no, but I didn't want to recut it. And so I was just like, well, let's just try it. Let's try it how it is. So this time I'm just going to do a little bit of glue, but I'm going to only glue 2 of the sides, the bottom and the non-hole side is what I should have done. But I think I ended up just doing the same thing on both sides again, and the holes will be obviously on one side on the left, and you flip it and it'll be on another side on the right. So anyway, like I said, this was not maybe the best tutorial to follow, but it comes out fine. It's just not as symmetrical and, you know, mirrored like it should be and all that good stuff. But anyway, I only just glued down a little portion of the pocket, like I said, just to keep it in place. But because you're laminating it, it's really not as important to, you know, really glue everything down, because we are going to have it laminated as well, and that's going to act as a glue to keep things in place. I have it ready to go. I had to wait for the laminator to reheat up because I wasn't thinking and turned it off. So anyway, we'll run it through the laminator, see how the pockets adhere. I think I ended up running this through a couple times because there was a bit of an air gap on the one side where the cardstock is pretty much like quadrupled up. So it's got double on the back, but then where the pocket is, it like really is fairly thick there. And so the lamination didn't really want to stick down that good close to the edge. I tried to use my little sticker spatula to, you know, just make sure everything was well adhered, specifically in those corners, but it still didn't really help, even running it through the laminator twice. So we'll just go ahead and cut it down and do our best not to get into that air gap that's kind of bubbling out. And I was really close because it was such a wide bubble there on the edge. So I'm just going to run it through one more time just in case. that does anything to help seal it down. And no, it didn't. You can see me trying to just like get rid of it, but it didn't want to. So we're just going to work with what we have. The last step here is to actually open up that pocket by using an X-Acto knife. The first time I did it, I was a little too gentle with that X-Acto knife. I was really worried about cutting through the paper. So just be brave, but don't push too hard, and open up that lamination right at the line of your pocket. We'll go ahead and do the same on the back side, even though, like I said, not quite mirrored like I had planned, but still super functional, as you'll see. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of hand trimming because I was just being very careful on some of those edges and really wanted to make sure I didn't get into the air gap. And now we need to find the center hole. I think I found it, so we'll go ahead and punch through and then go from there. Of course, I have to open up that hole since my punch didn't quite go through all the way. And then finish out the spacing of the holes. I'm really excited for this. I didn't make a pocket folder last year. I ended up making a little project, which you're going to see in this final setup. So it's nice to have a summer folder as well that just kind of goes with the whole theme. The final step will be for me to round out these corners. And again, just using that corner rounder punch that hates me at this point. It's like, no more lamination. And I decided to trim out this side a little bit more again, just to get closer to that air gap without going over. And let's go ahead and drop in a few sheets so you can just kind of see it in action. That's the pocket folder I am using now, so I'm going to put it into my planner. I'll move over my pen loop, which will be great on that lamination. Drop in my schedule I have there. And while we're in here, I'll go ahead and add in the rest of the stuff that I have planned for my summer refresh. These I made last year, these dashboards with the vellum overlay. So I'm just going to reuse those again this year in my reference section. I have 4 major long-term storage sections in this area. So I have dividers for each of those, and I'm just going to drop those in. And the final thing I'm going to add in is the pocket pages I made last year, just super cute, out of that same cardstock paper. And then I'll do a flip through so you can just see everything where it is. Last step will be to flip through the entire planner as you see me doing now, so you can see everything in action. As I'm doing that, I will go ahead and wrap things up. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up down below. Also, too, go ahead and leave me a comment if you'd like to get in touch. And think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, if you'd like to see more of my videos. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And we will see you next time. Bye.